My wife betrayed me with her boss, right in front of me in their office. I could have kicked the door in.
Broke his jaw, destroyed everything in seconds. But violence ends futures. Patience rewrites them. So I walked away. I planned, and planned. I took revenge from my wife and her boss in a way they could not believe was possible.
My wife betrayed me with her boss right in front of me, and in that moment, revenge tasted sharper, richer, and far more immediate than love ever had. I was standing near the edge of Riverside Construction's annual Christmas party, pretending to care about small talk and watered-down beer, when I saw my wife of 10 years slip quietly toward the executive offices. Grant Wells followed a second later, her boss, the company's Golden Boy CEO, the man whose name was etched on every plaque and bonus check in the room. Something in my gut tightened. I drifted closer without thinking, stopping just short of the closed door. It wasn't fully shut. Through the narrow crack, I saw everything. Their lips collided with practiced urgency. His hand slid to her waist like it belonged there. Hers gripped his jacket, pulling him closer. No hesitation, no guilt, just hunger. My beer bottle nearly shattered in my grip. 10 years of marriage, an 8-year-old daughter at home with a babysitter. And Lena was burning it all down in a borrowed office with a man who signed her paychecks. My name is John Cole, 36 years old, master carpenter, home renovator. Born and raised in a small Kentucky town where everybody thinks they know everybody else's business. What they didn't know, what no one knew, was that my picture-perfect marriage had just imploded behind a polished oak door at a corporate Christmas party. "You all right, man?" Dennis, one of Lena's coworkers, clapped me on the back. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I forced a smile, jaw clenched so tight my teeth ached. "Not feeling great. Think I might head out early." Dennis frowned. "Lena said you guys were staying till the end." Of course she did, because Lena had plans tonight. Plans that didn't include me. "Changed my mind," I muttered, draining the rest of my beer. In my younger days, I would have kicked that door open, dragged Grant Wells out by his designer tie, and rearranged his perfect white teeth across that glossy hardwood floor. My body actually moved in that direction before my brain caught up, but I wasn't 20 anymore. I had a daughter I adored, a business I'd built with my hands, and a past, one violent mistake in my early 20s that nearly cost me everything. Another charge like that would finish me. Violence would take my freedom, my livelihood, my child. Lena, it was becoming clear I'd already lost her, so I walked out. I grabbed my coat, stepped into the biting December cold, and drove home in silence, knuckles white on the steering wheel. The Christmas lights lining our street blinked cheerfully, mocking me as I pulled into the driveway. "Mr. Cole," Tina, our teenage babysitter, called from the porch. "You're early. Sophie's already asleep." I stayed a little late and sent her home. I nodded, thanked her, paid her extra without really seeing her. Then I sat alone in the dark living room, surrounded by wedding photos, family vacations, smiling lies frozen in frames. I waited 3 hours. When Lena finally came home, she was humming, actually humming. "John, why are you sitting in the dark?" She flipped on the light. Her lipstick was slightly smudged, her hair not quite as neat as when she'd left. "Headache," I said evenly. "Party end early." "No, it was still going." "I told you not to wait up." She barely hesitated. "Grant needed help organizing files for the Henderson project. You know how important that account is." "Grant," I repeated. "Not Mr. Wells anymore." Something flickered across her face, fear, guilt, but it vanished fast. "We're on a first-name basis. Everyone is." I could have confronted her, could have told her exactly what I saw. But instead, a strange calm settled over me, cold, focused, dangerous in its clarity. "I'm going to bed," I said. That night, lying beside my unfaithful wife, I didn't sleep. I planned. Before dawn, I was in my workshop, the detached garage I'd turned into my sanctuary years ago. The smell of sawdust and varnish usually calmed me. That morning, it sharpened me. "Daddy, what are you making?" Sophie stood in the doorway, blonde pigtails, curious eyes. She looked so much like her mother it hurt. Just working on some ideas, I said, forcing a smile. She grabbed her tiny work apron, the one I'd made her last Christmas. Can I help? Always. As she sanded beside me, tongue poking out in concentration, I sketched plans. Not for a client, for myself. Lena appeared later with coffee. Breakfast is ready. We're meeting my parents at 11. You go ahead, I said. Emergency job. On a Sunday? Her eyes narrowed. The Hendersons, I replied. You know how important that account is. She flinched. After they left, I made my calls to the bank, to a realtor, to the future. That night, as Lena bathed Sophie, I stood in the home office staring at her phone charging on the desk. For a moment, I considered picking it up, and that was the moment everything truly began. The messages between Lena and Grant would have been right there. Texts, late-night check-ins disguised as work. Little digital confessions typed in moments of carelessness, but I didn't need to see them. I already knew enough. Proof of betrayal wasn't what I was looking for anymore. What I needed was leverage. So instead of touching her phone, I turned my attention to the Riverside construction files she sometimes brought home. Binders and folders she treated casually, like background noise from her job. I spread them out on the desk and started reading with the same focus I brought to a complicated renovation. It didn't take long. Duplicate invoices jumped out first. One version for the client, premium-grade materials at premium prices. Another version for the supplier, quietly specifying cheaper, economy-grade alternatives. Same job numbers, same dates, different truths. Then the permits. Altered measurements, missing inspections, details that didn't line up with code. Corners cut so cleanly they almost looked intentional. And every safety inspection, every single one had been signed off by the same name, Alan Reeves. I didn't recognize it, but the repetition told me everything I needed to know. I photographed each page carefully, timestamps clear, signatures legible. Then I put everything back. Same order, same placement. No ripples left behind. Knowledge is power, and I intended to be very powerful. The house I bought sat on the edge of town, a forgotten Victorian, rotting in plain sight for years, peeling paint, a porch sagging under its own weight, floors warped by decades of neglect. Most people saw a liability, a money pit that would swallow anyone foolish enough to take it on. I saw bones. I saw craftsmanship that modern builds couldn't touch, hand-carved molding, solid timber framing, a structure that had survived a century and just needed someone willing to fight for it. You sure about this, John? Nathan asked, standing in what had once been the living room. This place needs everything. That's exactly why I want it, I said, running my hand along the original crown molding. Good bones, history, character, and most importantly, nobody else wants it. Nathan nodded slowly. Well, the price reflects that. Banks practically giving it away just to avoid maintaining it. By the end of the week, the loan was approved. The papers were signed. The Victorian was mine. Lena exploded when I told her. You did what? She shrieked, pacing the kitchen like a trapped animal. We can barely manage this mortgage, and you bought another house without even talking to me. It's an investment, I said evenly. I'm restoring it and flipping it. With what time? She snapped. You already work 60 hours a week. I'll manage. I took a sip of coffee. Besides, I thought you'd be happy having me out of your hair more often. Her eyes flashed. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I replied. Just that you seem to be working late a lot yourself. How's the Henderson project going? Grant still needing. Pause, private help. The color drained from her face. I don't like your tone, she said sharply. And I don't like coming second to your boss, but here we are. She slammed her hand on the counter. This is about your ego, isn't it? You can't stand that I'm building a career while you're still hammering nails for a living. The words landed hard. I didn't let it show. If that's what you think this is about, I said quietly, then you don't know me at all. Maybe I don't, she shot back. Maybe I never did. The argument ended there, but something fundamental had cracked. The pretense was thinning, and strangely, that felt like relief. That night, after Lena went to bed, I made another call. Scott Warner picked up on the third ring. John Cole, as I live and breathe, must be 5 years at least. Something like that, I said. Listen, I need some advice. Hypothetically. Oh no, Scott chuckled. Nothing good ever follows that word. If someone discovered evidence of construction fraud, I said carefully, material substitution, falsified permits, how would that get reported? Scott went quiet. This wouldn't happen to involve Riverside Construction, would it? My grip tightened on the phone. We've had complaints, he continued. Nothing solid. Wells is careful and connected. Then lower, but if someone had documentation, real documentation, they should bring it directly to my office. Not local authorities, understand. I do, John, he added before hanging up, be careful. Wells isn't someone to poke lightly. I wasn't poking him. I was dismantling him. I threw myself into the Victorian. Nights, weekends, 16-hour days. Lena stopped asking where I was. She was working late more often anyway. Oliver helped me set up separate accounts under Matthew's Restoration. Liam handled plumbing at cost. Every favor was earned. Every trade fair. You're really going all in, Liam said one Saturday. It's either this, I said, or lose my mind. While Grant Wells lived comfortably, I slept on a cot surrounded by sawdust and evidence. I was building two things at once, a business and a case, and both required patience. Meanwhile, at home, Lena and I existed in a Cold War, polite, distant, hollow. For a bye's sake, we pretended, but the distance grew, and it was only a matter of time before something broke. Lena's absences stopped feeling occasional and started feeling routine. With each one, the explanations grew longer, more polished, rehearsed down to the smallest detail, as if complexity itself could pass for credibility. It's a 3-day conference in Louisville, she said one Thursday night, folding clothes into a small rolling suitcase on our bed. Grant says it's crucial for the Henderson project. I'm sure it is, I replied, eyes still on the paperwork spread across my desk. Give Grant my best. Her hands froze mid-fold. What's that supposed to mean? Exactly what I said. I finally looked up, keeping my face deliberately blank. Send my regards to your boss. That's the polite thing to do, isn't it? She zipped the suitcase harder than necessary. I don't know what's gotten into you lately, John, but I don't like it. Funny, I said evenly. I was thinking the same about you. She left without another word. After the door closed behind her, I sat down with Sophie and explained, gently, that Mommy was away for work and that it would just be the two of us for the weekend. A daddy-daughter adventure. Can we camp in the Victorian? She asked, eyes lighting up. I smiled. Not for sleeping yet, pumpkin, but tomorrow after school we'll go work on it together. Once Sophie was tucked into bed, I made a call I'd been putting off. Alan Reeves, the safety inspector whose signature appeared on nearly every Riverside construction permit. I'd gotten his number through a mutual acquaintance who owed me a favor. Mr. Reeves, I said when he answered, my name is John Cole. I'm a contractor in the area. Cole, he said cautiously, don't think I know you. No reason you should, I replied, but I know quite a bit about you. Specifically, your relationship with Riverside Construction. Silence stretched between us. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do. I have copies of inspections you signed off on where substandard materials were used. Projects that wouldn't pass a legitimate review. Is this some kind of shakedown? His voice sharpened. Because if it is, it's not, I cut in. I don't want your money. I want information. I'm hanging up. Before you do, I said quickly, you should know I'm not the only one with those documents. If anything happens to me, they go straight to the state attorney general's office. Another long pause. What do you want? Everything, I said calmly. How deep it goes, who's involved, how long it's been happening. Why should I tell you anything? Because I'm giving you a chance to get ahead of this, I said. When, not if this collapses, the first person who cooperates usually walks away in better shape. Reeves exhaled heavily. Meet me tomorrow. Carson's Diner, 7 a.m. Come alone. He was already there when I arrived, hunched over a cup of coffee, looking like a man who hadn't slept. Late 50s. Worn, tired in a way that went deeper than age. "I've been doing this 15 years," he said without greeting. "Not just for Riverside, half a dozen companies. It started small, missed details, deadline favors. Then it escalated," I said. He nodded. "Wells is the worst. Always pushing, always cutting corners. And my wife?" I asked. "Lena Cole." His eyes flickered. "She handles the documentation, right?" I nodded. "Then she knows," he said quietly. "Wells doesn't keep people around who don't play along." The confirmation still landed like a punch. "She's not just sleeping with him," I said. "She's part of it." Reeves stared into his coffee. "My grandson just bought his first home, Riverside Build. Every time I visit, I wonder what's hiding behind those walls." He slid a thumb drive across the table. "I can't testify. Not yet. But this should help." It was more than enough. Karma showed up sooner than expected. A month later, at the lumberyard, I overheard a familiar voice. "Another Riverside job," a contractor said. "Grade B materials, billed as premium. Same as always." "Man's gonna get himself in trouble one of these days," the clerk muttered. "Not as long as everyone's getting paid," the contractor replied with a wink. I stepped around the corner. Couldn't help overhearing. "You do a lot of Riverside work," he eyed me, then relaxed. "Electrical?" "Yeah, my wife works there," I said. "Lena Cole." Recognition flashed across his face. "Oh, yeah, she handles the paperwork." That told me everything. Lena wasn't just betraying me. She was helping Grant Wells build his empire on lies. And now I had everything I needed to burn it down. That night, after the house had gone quiet, I made another call. This one was to Tyler Bishop. Tyler and I had started out in carpentry together years ago, swinging hammers, cursing bad blueprints. He'd eventually traded tool belts for clipboards, landing a job as a county building inspector. Smart, methodical, and most importantly, incorruptible. "Tyler," I said when he answered, "it's John. I need a favor." He didn't hesitate. "Name it." "I need you to look into something. Off the record, Riverside Construction. Compare the materials they're billing clients for against what's actually being installed." A short pause. "Wells's outfit?" "Yeah, I've had my suspicions for years," Tyler admitted. "But he's careful. Always has his pet inspector, Alan Reeves, signing off on everything." "What if I told you I have evidence?" I said, "and that Reeves might be willing to talk?" The silence on the other end stretched longer this time. "That changes everything," Tyler said finally. "But John, why are you involved in this?" I exhaled slowly. "It's personal, Lena." He understood instantly. Tyler had been at our wedding. "Shit, man," he muttered. "I'm sorry." "Don't be," I said. "Just be thorough. I want this airtight." Things moved faster after that, much faster than I'd expected. Tyler took the evidence straight to his supervisor, who recognized its significance immediately. Within days, a quiet investigation was underway, with the state attorney general's office looped in from the beginning, to avoid any local interference from Grant's connections. While the wheels turned behind the scenes, I kept my head down and focused on the Victorian. But Grant Wells wasn't stupid. One morning, I pulled up to the property and knew something was wrong before I even stepped out of the truck. The front door hung crooked on its hinges. Inside, chaos. Fresh drywall smashed. Restored trim ripped clean off the walls. New windows shattered, glass crunching under my boots as I walked through the wreckage. Standing there, I felt something cold and dangerous settle in my chest. This wasn't about Lena anymore. This was intimidation. I called the police, filed a report, then made one more call, this time to Scott at the AG's office. "They're getting nervous," I told him. "This is a message. Document everything," Scott said. "And John, watch your back. If Wells is willing to vandalize property, he may not stop there." That night, a black SUV cruised past my house. Once, twice, 3 times. I sat on the porch in the dark, a baseball bat resting against my leg, daring them to try something. They didn't, but the message was clear. Grant knew. Instead of scaring me, it hardened my resolve. The next day, I installed security cameras at both the Victorian and my home. I hired 2 off-duty deputies to watch the renovation site. an expense that cut into my margins but ensured the work could continue safely. Word about the vandalism spread fast in our small town. What Grant hadn't anticipated was the backlash. Contractors who'd stayed silent for years started reaching out. Some brought documents, others offered labor. A few just wanted to stand beside me, fed up with Wells's bullying and corruption. By the end of the week, I had more help than I could manage, and the Victorians' restoration was back on track, moving faster than ever. Grant's attempt to intimidate me had backfired spectacularly, transforming a personal vendetta into a community cause. Meanwhile, the house itself was coming alive. I'd hired 2 skilled craftsmen recently laid off from another company. They were grateful for steady work. I was grateful for their precision. Word started spreading about the quality of our restoration. One night I was alone in what would become the master bedroom, measuring for custom moldings when headlights swept across the windows. A car had pulled into the driveway. My muscles tightened. Then the front door opened and Lena stepped inside. She looked around slowly, taking in the transformation. "So this is where you've been disappearing to," she said, running her hand along the restored banister. "I had to ask around town to find it." "What are you doing here, Lena?" "I wanted to see it," she said. "See what was so important that you've barely been home for weeks." She wandered through the rooms, studying the details, the craftsmanship. "It's beautiful work, John," she said quietly. "I'd forgotten how talented you are." "Thanks," I replied, not trusting the compliment. "Why are you really here?" She stopped, faced me. "Grant proposed today." The words hit hard, but I kept my expression steady. "Congratulations." "I haven't given him an answer yet." "Why not?" I asked. "Isn't this what you've been working toward?" Her eyes flashed. "It wasn't like that. It just happened." "Things like that don't just happen, Lena," I said evenly. "They're choices. Hundreds of small ones that lead to one big betrayal. Like you buying this house without telling me," she shot back. "Starting a business behind my back." I laughed softly. "I'm not sleeping with this house, Lena. I'm investing in my future. A future I'm increasingly certain doesn't include you." "So that's it?" she demanded. 10 years of marriage and you're just giving up." "I'm not the one who gave up," I said quietly. "You did. The moment you decided Grant Wells was worth betraying everything we built." She stepped closer. Her perfume, expensive, unfamiliar, filled the space between us. "We could start over," she said. "I could say no. We could go to counseling, try again." For a split second I wavered. Sophie, the memories, the life we'd almost had. Then I remembered the ease of her lies, her complicity. "No," I said firmly. "I'm not interested in being your backup plan. Not anymore." Her expression hardened. "You'll regret this when I'm Mrs. Grant Wells, living in a mansion, while you're still getting sawdust under your fingernails." "Better honest sawdust," I replied, "than dishonest luxury." Then I added casually, "Does Grant know about the state investigation yet?" Her face drained of color. "What investigation?" "The one into Riverside's fraudulent practices," I said. "Substituted materials, falsified permits, cooked books. It's all coming out, Lena, soon." "You're lying," she whispered. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The fear in her eyes told me everything I needed to know. She didn't argue. She didn't deny it. She knew. "Go home," I said quietly. "And whatever you decide about Grant's proposal, you might want to talk to a lawyer first. You're going to need one." She didn't say another word, just turned and fled, heels echoing through the hollow rooms. I stood there alone in the Victorian, surrounded by the honest labor of my own hands, straight lines, solid joints, work that didn't lie, and felt something unexpected settle over me. Peace. The confrontation I'd been bracing myself for, the one that had lived in the back of my mind for months, was finally over, and I was still standing. 2 days later, Tyler and I were halfway through lunch at the diner when the room went quiet. Grant Wells had walked in. The place seemed to hold its breath as he spotted me and made a beeline for our table. "Cole," he said, his voice tight, controlled, vibrating with barely contained anger. "I think it's time we had a chat." Tyler started to rise, but I placed a hand on his arm. "It's fine," I said. "This was inevitable." Grant pulled out a chair and sat down without asking. Up close, he looked worse than I expected. The polished confidence was gone, dark circles under his eyes, his suit rumpled, his smile brittle. "Whatever game you think you're playing," he said, leaning in close, "it stops now. I built this town. I've got friends in places you can't even imagine." "Is that why you sent someone to trash my property?" I asked calmly. "Because of all those powerful friends." "I don't know what you're talking about," he scoffed, but his eyes flicked away. "Sure you do," I said, "just like you know about the investigation. Just like you know your empire of shortcuts and lies is collapsing." I leaned forward slightly. "How does it feel, Grant, watching everything you built start to crumble?" His face flushed. "You think you're clever, you have no idea who you're dealing with." "Actually," I said evenly, "I do. I'm dealing with a fraud who cuts corners, cheats his clients, and sleeps with other men's wives." I smiled, cold and deliberate. "And soon, everyone else will know it too." His hand shot out, grabbing the front of my shirt. "You son of a—" I didn't flinch. "Go ahead," I said quietly. "Hit me. Make a scene. Add assault to your growing list of problems." For a moment, I thought he might do it. Then he noticed the room, the silent tables, the watching eyes. He let go abruptly and stood. "This isn't over," he hissed. "You're right," I said. "It's just beginning." He stormed out. Slowly, conversation returned to the diner. Tyler stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "Damn, John, I've never seen anyone stand up to Wells like that." I shrugged. But inside, I felt 10 feet tall. Bullies only have power when you're afraid of them. And I wasn't afraid of Grant Wells anymore. 3 weeks later, the Riverside construction scandal exploded. It didn't come from me. Turns out Grant had made plenty of enemies. Anonymous tips led to inspections of recent projects, and the substitution of substandard materials was only the beginning. Permit violations, code failures, creative accounting that caught the attention of the IRS. The local paper ran the story on the front page. I watched Lena read it over breakfast. "This is a witch hunt," she said, her voice trembling. "Grant would never save it," I said. "We both know exactly what kind of man Grant Wells is." She looked up at me, real fear flickering in her eyes for the first time. "What do you mean?" "I mean I know everything," I said. "The affair, the fraud, all of it." The paper slipped from her hands. "John," I stood. "I don't want to hear it, not in front of Sophie." Our daughter was in the living room, laughing at Saturday morning cartoons, blissfully unaware. "We need to talk," Lena whispered. "We will," I said. "But right now I'm going to work." Work meant the Victorian. And it was coming together beautifully. The exterior had been restored to its original grandeur. Inside, modern comforts blended seamlessly with historic charm. I already had 2 offers from buyers before the final nail was set. As Riverside imploded, coal restoration took flight. I hired 2 good men, skilled workers laid off when Grant's contracts dried up. Word spread quickly about my craftsmanship, my transparency, my refusal to cut corners. One afternoon, a luxury sedan pulled up to the Victorian. A sharply dressed man in his 60s stepped out, studying the house with clear appreciation. "Mr. Cole," he called. "Got a minute?" His name was Howard Garrison, a prominent local developer known for high-end legacy projects. "Impressive," he said as I walked him through the house. "You preserve character without sacrificing livability. That's rare." "That's the goal," I said. He handed me his card. "I'm developing a new neighborhood on the old Westbrook estate. 15 historic homes. I need someone who values quality over shortcuts." He met my eyes. "Someone who isn't Grant Wells." My pulse quickened. "I'd be very interested," I said. "Good," he replied. "Come by my office Monday with your portfolio. If your other work matches this, we'll have a lot to discuss." That night, Lena was waiting when I got home. Sophie was at a sleepover. "Grant was arrested today," she said, eyes red. "Fraud. Tax evasion. They raided the office, took everything, questioned everyone, including me." "And what did you tell them?" I asked. "That I didn't know anything," she said quickly. "Because I didn't. Not about the illegal stuff." "But you knew he was cutting corners," I said. "Substituting materials." She froze. "How did you—" "Everyone knew, Lena," I said quietly. The whole town did. The only mystery was how long it would take to catch up with him. It wasn't like that, she said desperately. He was just trying to keep the business afloat during tough times. I looked at her, tired beyond words. Tough times don't justify bad choices, I said. They just reveal who you really are. And for the first time, there was nothing left to argue about. By cheating his clients, by cutting corners that put families in unsafe homes, I could feel my calm starting to fracture. And what was your excuse for cheating on me? I asked quietly. Was that for the good of the company too? She collapsed onto the couch, whatever defiance she had left finally giving way. You knew, she whispered. I know you saw us at the Christmas party, in his office. She swallowed hard. John, I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. I stared at her. 3 months of late nights didn't mean anything. The hushed phone calls, the way you flinched every time I touched you. I shook my head slowly. Don't insult me by lying now. Her voice dropped to a whisper. What are you going to do? I already did, I said. I rebuilt my life while you were tearing ours down. Her head snapped up. Was it you? Did you report Grant? No, I said. Turns out I didn't have to. When a business is built on lies, it eventually collapses under its own weight. I told her about the Victorian, about coal restoration, about the offers already on the table. I told her I'd be moving out the following week and about my meeting with Howard Garrison. You've been planning this all along, she accused, anger replacing tears. Setting yourself up while watching Grant and me fall. I've been building something honest, I corrected her. Something I can stand behind. Something Sophie can be proud of. You can't take Sophie, she said immediately. I'm not taking her, I replied, but I'm not giving her up either. We'll work out custody. And us, her voice cracked. There is no us anymore, Lena. You made sure of that. The Victorian sold for twice what I'd invested. I bought a smaller house closer to Sophie's school and converted the garage into my office. 6 months after leaving my marital home, Coal Restoration had 8 full-time employees and a long-term contract with Howard Garrison that would keep us booked for 2 years. The Garrison project became our calling card, featured in regional home magazines, drawing clients from neighboring states. I wasn't John the handyman anymore. I was John Cole, restoration specialist, known for integrity. Grant Wells was sentenced to 5 years for fraud and tax evasion. Riverside Construction was dissolved, its assets sold off to cover debts. Lena lost her job and her lover in the same breath. She called me one night, her words blurred by wine. He said he loved me, she sobbed. He promised we'd be together after you and I divorced, but the moment things went bad, he blamed everything on me, said I should have known. His lawyer even hinted that I was the mastermind. Were you? I asked quietly. Of course not, she said. I did what he told me. Like you always do, I replied gently. She was silent for a long moment. I miss you, John. I miss our family. I miss what we had. It's gone, I said. And it doesn't come back just because you miss it. It doesn't have to be, she pleaded. We could try again for Sophie's sake. Sophie deserves parents who respect each other, I said, who are honest. I can change. So can I replied. So have I, that's the problem. We're not the same people anymore. The final twist came when Lena, facing accessory charges, made a deal with prosecutors. In exchange for full cooperation, she received probation instead of jail time. What she revealed went far beyond anything I'd uncovered. Bribes, political favors, corrupt inspectors, payoffs reaching into the mayor's office and county zoning board. The scandal rippled outward. I stayed focused on my business, on being present for Sophie during my custody days, on building something steady. And somewhere along the way, I started seeing Ellie Phillips. She was an interior designer on the Garrison project, professional at work, easy to talk to. There was a connection we didn't rush. A year after the Christmas party that changed everything, I stood in the sunlit kitchen of a fully restored 1920s craftsman bungalow, my biggest project yet. Sophie was with Lena for the weekend. Ellie was arranging flowers on the island for the open house. Earth to John, she said, waving a hand in front of my face. Where'd you go? Just thinking about how much can change in a year. She wrapped her arms around my waist. For the better, I hope. I turned to her. Definitely. The doorbell rang. I expected the photographer. Instead, Lena stood on the porch. I need to talk to you, she said, then stopped when she saw Ellie. Oh, I didn't realize you had company. Ellie Phillips, I said evenly. This is Lena Cole, my ex-wife. Ellie's my girlfriend and my business partner. Lena's smile didn't reach her eyes. How nice. It's about Sophie, she added quickly. Ellie squeezed my arm. I'll check the upstairs fixtures, take your time. Once she was gone, Lena's composure crumbled. Girlfriend and business partner, she said. That was fast. It's been a year, I replied. What's wrong with Sophie? She's fine, Lena admitted. That was just an excuse. She looked around the kitchen. This place is beautiful. Thank you, I said. Why are you really here? She took a shaky breath. Grant's sentencing was finalized yesterday. 4 years. Parole eligible in 2. I saw it. What you didn't see, she continued, is that he gave prosecutors names. Everyone involved, including me. My stomach tightened. What are you saying? They're charging me as an accessory, she said. My lawyer thinks I'll get probation, maybe a few months. She broke down then. John, I can't go to jail. What about Sophie? The old version of me would have stepped forward, would have tried to save her, but that man didn't live here anymore. The new version of me didn't step back. What exactly do you want from me, Lena? I asked. She hesitated, then said it anyway. A character witness. Someone to testify that I was just following orders, that I'm a good mother, that I'm a good person who made a mistake. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because of the audacity. After everything, I said, you want me to lie for you. It wouldn't be lying, she insisted. I am a good mother, and I did make a mistake, the biggest one of my life. Her voice cracked. Losing you. Through the window I could see Ellie in the backyard, kneeling on the patio with a tape measure, mapping out where furniture would go. Sunlight caught in her hair. Possibility, stability, a future built on truth. Lena stood in my kitchen like a ghost from another life, betrayal, deception, the man I used to be when I accepted less than I deserved. I can't do that, I said at last. I won't lie for you. Not even to keep you out of jail. Her face tightened. That's what got you here in the first place, I continued. Lies stacked on lies. You want me to help you escape the consequences of the same behavior that destroyed everything. So you want the mother of your child to go to prison? She snapped. I don't want anything bad for you, I said calmly. But choices have consequences. Mine did too. The difference is I stopped lying and rebuilt. You kept digging. Her expression hardened, anger replacing desperation. You're enjoying this, she said bitterly. Watching me fall while you play house with your new girlfriend. I'm not enjoying any of it, I replied. But I'm not responsible for your choices anymore. She turned for the door, pausing just long enough to fire one last shot. When Sophie asks why you let her mother go to jail, what will you tell her? The truth, I said. Always the truth. After she left, Ellie came back inside. Everything okay? She asked gently. I pulled her close, resting my forehead against hers. It will be. And it was. Lena didn't go to jail. Her cooperation with the broader investigation earned her leniency, 3 years of probation and community service. Grant, even from his prison cell, tried to drag her down with him, claiming she was equally responsible. No one listened. His credibility was long gone. The most unexpected turn came 6 months later. The county announced a full audit of every home Riverside Construction had built over the past decade. Cole Restoration was selected as one of 5 firms trusted to inspect and repair the damage, funded by the sale of Grant's seized assets. Walking through those houses was surreal, fixing foundations he'd weakened, replacing materials he'd cheaped out on, making homes safe for families who never knew they'd been put at risk. It wasn't just work, it was redemption. One evening, while inspecting a cracked foundation, a young father, watching his kids play nearby, asked me, "How did you know Wells was dirty?" I thought about Lena, about the Christmas party, about all the moments where truth tried to surface and was ignored. Let's just say I learned the hard way that not everything is built to last, I said. But with honest work and the right materials, most things can be restored. The hardest part wasn't business. It was Sophie, explaining why her parents weren't together, why her mom was in legal trouble, why her world had shifted. I never spoke badly about Lena, but I didn't lie either. One night, as I tucked her into bed, she asked quietly, "Why did everything change?" "Sometimes adults make big mistakes," I said. "Mistakes that hurt people they love. What matters is what they do afterward, whether they try to fix it or keep making it worse." "Did mommy make it worse?" she asked. I chose my words carefully. "Your mom got caught in something bad and didn't know how to get out. But she's trying to fix it now." "And you?" she asked. "Did you make mistakes too?" "I did," I admitted. "I wasn't always the best husband or father, but I'm trying to be better every day." That was enough for her. She wrapped her arms around my neck. "I love you, Daddy. I love you too, Pumpkin, more than anything." Howard Garrison's project finished ahead of schedule, under budget, and to unanimous praise. Coal restoration was featured in Southern Living, bringing high-end clients from across the Southeast. I was building a legacy, the opposite of Grant Wells's empire of shortcuts and lies. Ellie and I moved in together after a year. She brought warmth and steadiness back into my life. We talked about marriage sometimes, but there was no rush. We were building something real. Lena eventually found work at a small accounting firm, humbled, quieter, rebuilding slowly. For Sophie's sake, we formed a civil co-parenting relationship, though the trust between us was gone for good. Grant served his sentence, got out early, and left town. I heard he was working as a site manager in another state, a steep fall for a man who once ruled the county. One spring afternoon, standing on the porch of our home, watching Sophie and Ellie plant flowers, I reflected on the journey. From betrayal to redemption, from anger to peace. Lena had been right about one thing, just not in the way she meant. Revenge did taste sweeter than love, not because I destroyed her, but because I refused to let her destroy me. Sometime, living well really is the best revenge.